but it's one of the greatest seasons that we've seen in the history of Bears quarterbacking, and people are complaining about it. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back into Bears Den, an NFL podcast with the Chicago Bears First Focus. I'm your host, Alex, here today to discuss Caleb Williams' rookie season, assess his rookie season, kind of take a look at a bunch of different things here and really kind of evaluate it, right? There is some things to talk about. Of course, he was a rookie. Of course, the Bears were 5-12. Of course, he has things to work on. I'm accounting for all of that. I don't want anyone to jump on this video and think that I'm going to sit here and just gas him up, right? I am part of the fan base that thinks that he had a fantastic season, and I'm going to tell you why. First off, we could talk about all the different records that he set, right? We can talk about the, pass attempts that he went without throwing an interception. That was a big deal. That was an NFL record, not just a Bears record, but he did set both. That's a big deal, right? Having a rookie quarterback that is able to not turn the ball over is very telling. He had the most total yards by a Bears quarterback in any season ever. 4,030 yards. That puts him at number one most total yards. He would be fifth all time in Bears passing in a season for passing yards. He had 3,541. So pretty solid season, right? 3,541 passing yards and just about 500 rushing yards. Pretty solid season all the way around. And he had the best interception percentage by a Bears quarterback ever by a lot. He was at like 1.1. And his and the next I think was Jim McMahon, who was second at like 1.9. So pretty decent margin there and really solid. And then I think throughout the league, like by rookies, it's like the third best touchdown interception ratio by a rookie ever. So some really big stuff there, right? This isn't just like a rookie season that he's doing some things, he's showing some flashes, he's breaking records all across the board, he's having one of the best seasons in franchise history, right? And I can see you guys typing comments already, right? I see it already. One of the best seasons ever, but the Bears only won 5 games. Yes, that's true. Wins are not just a QB stat. They are partially. And I'll start with this. There was one game this season that the Bears won that Caleb probably did not deserve to win. And that was the first game of the year, his first start against Tennessee. He had, I think, 93 or 94 passing yards, no touchdowns, no picks, just kind of there along for the ride, right? Obviously, he had the punt return touchdown, had the pick six. Defense and special teams really won that game. The offense really didn't do anything, right? But he gets slack for me because that was his first ever start. And they still found a way to win the game, right? He didn't lose the Bears that game, which I think is also something that's worth something. But when we look at the record, we break down the record of 5-12. There are multiple games that Caleb left the field with a lead, or he put the team in a position to win the game. We start with the Washington game. We all know the Washington game. But with 20 seconds left, Caleb left the field with a lead. And yes, you can make the argument that he didn't play great that entire game. And sure, that's true. I agree. The offense struggled. But when the time was there, the time was right, they score with 20 seconds left. He made some big throws on that final drive. And they are up. And they take the lead. And then we know what happened, of course. But he left the field with a lead. And I will say this, if that's not enough for you, then that means that you're blaming, with that logic, Brock Purdy for losing the Super Bowl last year. Because in overtime, Brock Purdy left the field with a lead. In overtime. Left the field with a lead. And they lost the game. So if you're going to use that logic against Caleb, keep it consistent. We could talk about the first game against Green Bay. Caleb played a great game the entire way through. Down the field, final drive of the game. Gets the team in position. They line up for a field goal attempt. 9 out of 10 times the Bears win that game. That just didn't really happen. Just didn't happen that game. They were a fingertip away from winning that game. So they would then be 7-10 if you take those two games. You take the Minnesota game, down 2 scores with 30 seconds left. Caleb forces overtime. Now, I'm not going to give Caleb the win for this one because, they got to overtime and then the offense went 3 and out and he had a bad sack. He may have had 2 bad sacks on that drive. So they had a chance to win that one. So I'm not going to be like, oh, the defense lost Caleb that game. Could the defense have not let Sam Darnold march 80 yards in overtime when they had him on like 3rd and 19 and 3rd and 15? Yeah. But the Bears had a chance to end the game right there on offense, and they didn't. And then the first Detroit game, Caleb got them in field goal range. They're starting on their own 2 with 1:30 left. He takes them all the way down the field, gets them in field goal range, and we know what happens. The head coach doesn't know how to use timeouts, and so they don't even get to attempt a field goal to force overtime. Or if they managed the clock better, maybe they could have scored a touchdown. So we don't know for sure if the Bears would have won that game. But they could have. So at the very worst this year, 8-9, right? If the Hail Mary doesn't happen, if the defense does their job, the entire season looks different. Maybe we're ramping up and getting ready to watch the Bears in the playoffs this week. But for the media to come out here, and for Bears fans to come out here and say, yeah, that was an underwhelming season. I saw a post by, I think, CBS this week where it said why Caleb's oh my goodness, holy stutter. Why Caleb Williams' rookie season is not what Bears fans had hoped. I mean, this is one of the best Bears seasons ever by a quarterback. What are we talking about here? The guy went through 3 offensive coordinators in his rookie season. There's guys that don't go through 3 offensive coordinators their career. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing here? And I'm checking live right now. My fantasy group chat's lighting up. I want to make sure that nothing happened with the Bears. So bear with me. Okay. Nothing. Just wanted to make sure that we're not like interviewing someone crazy or we hired someone already or something like that. Caleb did what I wanted in this rookie season. He showed us what we saw at USC. The flashes, the extension plays, the crazy throws. And speaking of that, I just remembered another game that the Bears would have won. That would have at least put them at 8 wins, at 8-9. The Seattle game, Caleb threw a touchdown. They had 3 points, right? Bears had 3 points. Seattle had 6. Caleb threw a touchdown in that game. I got called back because of a dumb holding penalty by his offensive line. They would have won that game. But he did everything I wanted. He struggled. I wanted him to struggle. Because what we had seen with Justin Fields over the past couple of years was a quarterback that was afraid to throw certain throws, afraid to throw over the middle, afraid to throw with anticipation because he didn't want to make mistakes. We saw Caleb make dangerous throws, risky throws, throws that he maybe shouldn't make. But that's how you learn. That's how you improve. He threw multiple picks this year that were dropped. I'm not some fan that's not going to act like that didn't happen. But every quarterback does that. Every quarterback throws picks. Every quarterback has off games. When you throw picks, you learn. I mean, hell, Minnesota and Detroit this week, I'm watching Jared Goff on his own 2 throw it 50 yards down the field, not even close to his receiver, throw an interception. And that's the number 1 seed in the league. That's a quarterback that's in the MVP conversation. He almost threw for 4,000 yards as a rookie in the now what will be 106-year Bears history. We have never had a 4,000-yard passer. He was less than 500 yards away in his first year. Imagine what it looks like next year with a competent coaching staff and more pieces on the offensive line. He's the best quarterback that we've had on the Bears in my lifetime. I'm soon to be 25 years old. I've lived through Rex Grossman and Kyle Orton and Jay Cutler and I remember Matt Barkley and Brian Hoyer and Mike Glennon. Obviously Mitch had a good season in 2018, but those numbers weren't crazy. Fields, Chase Daniel, Bajent. The list goes on and on. I can name all these different quarterbacks, right? What more do the Bears fans want? I think that the expectations have skewed kind of the view and the perception of Caleb Williams because all offseason, as Bears fans and as national media, right? As Bears fans, we hold responsibility for this. Bears are going to be in the playoffs. There's people on the media picking the Bears to be in the Super Bowl, and that sets this false expectation in our minds, right? So that anything less than making the playoffs or anything less than reaching the Super Bowl is then wrong, is then a disappointment. But in reality, it's not. It's not a disappointment. Yeah, going 5-12 is a disappointment considering we won more games last year with worse quarterback play and arguably a worse offensive roster. That part is disappointing, and I agree. But elevating the quarterback play through all of this treacherous nightmare hell circus of an environment, no. No. This was a good season. And I implore you guys to wake up a little bit if you're against this, right? There's many people on here, there's many fans that I have on this channel that are very supportive of Caleb Williams that thought he was doing a great job this year. But there's also a lot of fans on here that are saying that he's terrible, he's a bust, they should have traded the pick and they should have stuck with Fields. And I'm not going to sit here and attack Fields anymore because it's been almost a year since he's been released from the team. But he hasn't been starting in Pittsburgh. I get it, right? Are wins everything? Wins are a big part. I get it. And that part's disappointing. But look at it in the bigger picture. Look at it as a whole. Look at what he had to deal with. Find me another quarterback in his rookie year that had to have 3 offensive coordinators. You can't do it. You can't do that because it hasn't happened. This has been a nightmare of a year, and yet still he fought until the very end. And in the final game of the year, he led a game-winning drive against our biggest rivals. That is worth more to me this rookie season than making the playoffs as the 6th or 7th seed and then probably losing to a Philly. Let's imagine a world where the Bears this week are ramping up and they're practicing and they're getting ready to go to Philly. Let's say that they won all these games that they were in that they didn't win. So let's say they finished with a 9-8 record, or 10-7, whatever, and they're in as the 7th seed. I'm sure as Bears fans in the moment, we'd probably think that we have a chance. And of course, anyone can beat anyone on any given Sunday. But the likelihood of us winning one playoff game, especially if we're going on the road to Philly, is quite unlikely with how young this team is. With an interim head coach, and I guess Eberflus would be here if we had won all those games, right? This season was meant to happen. I mean, think about it this way. This thought just came in my head. The Bears identified their biggest problem, which many fans had identified after last season, but the front office didn't. That biggest problem being Matt Eberflus. And we were able to discard that, unfortunately a little late after the season had been wasted, but we were able to discard that problem while also understanding that we have hit on the quarterback and we have an elite quarterback and that his ceiling is something that we are nowhere near seeing yet, right? We've seen the flashes. We've seen the game-winning drives that he's done. He's led multiple. He only has one, but he's led multiple. Other guys just didn't do their job. We've seen his ability to play on time. Granted, that was a little bit less later in the year, but we saw the ability. It's in there. We saw the ability to not turn the ball over. So we discarded the biggest problem. So moving forward, that's gone. And we know that we hit the quarterback. So we can now build around that. And that's something that we haven't been able to say. Because we haven't hit on the quarterback. We never hit on the quarterback until now. So I'm very excited for the future. I thought that he had a fantastic rookie season. And if I had to grade his rookie season, I'd give him probably an A minus. He did what I wanted. He showed the flashes. He made the mistakes, which are encouraged. And he beat Green Bay. He showed you that he can do it all. Now the question for next year is, can we do it consistently? Can we build up the team? Can we get the right coach in here that's going to understand clock management and is going to understand what positions we need to fill and how to coach these guys up and not tolerate the BS? And can you show us those flashes more consistently? So I give him an A on the year. There's things he can improve at, but for the environment he was given, couldn't have asked for a better season. Let me know what you guys think down below. Did you like Caleb's rookie season? Do you think he showed you enough? Do you need to see more? Are you done with Caleb Williams? Do you want a new quarterback? Let me know down below. I'm open to discussing all different points. I love hearing from you guys. And if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. I appreciate you guys listening as always. Bear down. And I will see you in tomorrow's video where we go through and we pick the playoffs. I'm so excited for that. Let's go. We'll see you then.